Hi guys, this is Kata and today I will be doing my May wrap-up. So finally, May was a really good reading month for me, and I guess it's because I had a lot more free time than in the previous month, so I managed to read 17 books! Yay! And although 4 of them were graphic novels, so of course they didn't take a long time, but that still leaves me with 13 books, so that's awesome for me. And yeah, without further ado, I'm just going to show you the books I read in May. The first books I read in May were part of a trilogy, and it is the Summer Trilogy by Jenny Han. So that is The Summer I Turned Pretty, It's Not Summer Without You, and We'll Always Have Summer. And I already made like a book discussion, just review feelings kind of video about it, and I will leave it in the description box below if you are interested in it. And it's one of my favorite contemporaries now. It just sticks with you and leaves you with all these feelings, and that's what I love about reading and in books in general. So yeah, check these books out now, because even though they seem very fluffy and light-hearted, they are in a way, but they are so not. They are so much more than just the general synopsis. Oh, and I obviously gave all of those 3 books 5 stars, and maybe my favorite was the first or the second one. I don't know, it's pretty hard, but all of those were 5 stars books for sure. And the next book I read in May was All Our Yesterdays by Kristen Terrell, and this was such a good book. I mean, it's kind of a young adult time-traveling slash dystopian book. It's very fast-paced. You get attached to the characters so easily and so fast, and you can't help but love everyone, even if they are you know, not the best people, you know, they don't have the very best morals and stuff like that, but you just can't help but, you know, see the good in them. And I can't really say anything about this book without giving anything away, so I'm not even going to try. I think you just need to go into this without any previous knowledge about the book, and that's what I did, and that's why I enjoyed it so much. And this cover is gorgeous anyways, but yeah, and I saw that there was a sequel coming out, even though I was happy with the ending. This book couldn't have had a better ending, a more realistic ending and stuff like that. But yeah, I will definitely check out the second book as well. But if you love young adult dystopian time traveling books, then this one is for you. And this is probably the first time traveling or time travel book that I read that I really enjoyed, so that's a good thing. And I gave this book 4.5 stars out of 5 stars. And then I read North of Beautiful by Justina Chant Hadley, and this is a young adult contemporary book, and it is one of the slower paced contemporary books, and it's more focused, I guess, on the writing and just the general story, so not a lot of drama, romance kind of thing. At least it's not in the very focus of the story. But this is about a girl called Tara, and she has been born with this port wine stain on her face, so that has been giving her a lot of trouble in all her life and giving her insecurities and stuff like that. But one day when she's out with her mother, she meets this guy called Jacob and her mother, and you know, they kind of hit it off literally at the very beginning. They decide to take a journey in China. Was it China? I think it was China and not Japan. I think it was China. And you know, it's one of those books where you get to see the world through the eye of the narrator, and it's pretty cool because, you know, I don't think I will ever go to places like that, so it's kind of a traveling book as well, but you know, it has a deeper message, like, you know, that you have to accept yourself and how you look, and you know, what cards you have been dealt. Unfortunately, it was a little bit too slow for me, or just I wasn't in the mood, you know, to read a slower book because I wanted action and stuff like that. And I couldn't really connect that well with the main character, but I really did like the male character in it, Jacob. And I love the fact that he's Asian, because you don't really see a lot of male main characters who are not Caucasian, so I was very happy to see that he was Asian. And and yeah, I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars, and I would definitely recommend it. And then I read an ebook, which was Apollyon by Jennifer L. Armentrout, which is the 4th book in the Covenant series. And this took me such a long time. I don't know why, because the story was not bad at all, but as I said in my previous wrap-up, maybe this story wasn't going in the direction that I wanted to go. So I guess I can't have it all the time. But yeah, I gave it 4 stars because it was still a good book. I'm just kinda bummed that, you know, stuff doesn't happen the way I want it to happen. But yeah, that's life. And then I read Saga Volume 1, which has been so very hyped up on BookTube right now, and I just had to check out what the hype was all about. And you know, I kinda don't see it. I mean, it was pretty good. I gave it 4 stars, don't get me wrong. I just expected a bit more because everyone was all over about it, like saying how amazing it was, and for me it was just, yeah, good. You know, you want to read the next volumes after you read the first one, but it wasn't my priority. And although I really love the art in this, and that, you know, it was very adult, and I like the fact that it was very adult, so it dealt with, you know, very sexual themes, but that was, I don't know, it was refreshing in a way. But yeah, wasn't my favorite, definitely wasn't bad at all, but I'm not in love with it like a lot of people seem to be. And the next book I read was Grave Mercy by Robin Lefevre, and this was such a long book. I mean, I knew it was going to be long because it's huge, but yeah, it took me some time. It's basically a young adult fantasy book about a girl called Ismay, and she was rescued by this nun, and so she was taken to this nunnery where she would become a handmaiden of death, so basically an assassin. So there's a lot of, you know, intrigue in this, and secrets and action and romance, so it had all the right ingredients for an amazing story. Unfortunately, it was a little bit too long for me, so it kind of dragged on, and I don't think it should have been this long because there wasn't that many things happening in it. But still, it was a really good book. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, and I do want to check out the second book, which is Dark Triumph, I think. Yeah. And the next book I read was Dare You To by Katie McGarry, and this is the second book in her Pushing the Limits companion novel series thingy, and this was kind of a letdown for me. I mean, I didn't really expect it to be really good because I liked Pushing the Limits, but I wasn't in love with it, so I didn't know how this was gonna turn out. But it took me quite some time to finish it, and I couldn't really connect to Beth, the main female character in this, at all. Thankfully, at least I really love the male character called Ryan in this, but basically in this story we have Beth and Ryan who come from very different families and very different lifestyles. I couldn't connect to Beth at all, so that makes it hard for me to love this book. And yeah, I'm having higher hopes for the third book because it's Isaiah's story and I loved him. So unfortunately I only gave it 4 stars, and I'm thinking of, you know, changing it to 3.5 stars because, you know, comparing it to other books, I just didn't really enjoy it as much as them. But good news was that the next book I read I really loved, and it was so unexpected because I just didn't have any hopes for it, like high hopes. But I was so surprised in a good way, and I'm talking about Rules of Attraction by Simone Alcaraz, which is the second book in the Perfect Chemistry trilogy. And this story is about Alex's younger brother Carlos, and he gets shipped to America from Mexico, and you know, he is the bad boy. He is the bad boy that I can't help but love. I love bad boy good girl stories anyways, but this was just so adorable, and I think it was a little bit more lighthearted than Perfect Chemistry. There wasn't a lot of gang themed scenes in this, and I really enjoyed that. And I just loved Carlos and his you know, snarkiness and just egoistic ways, but he was so charming as well. And I don't know, I just read it in basically one sitting. It was so cute. I loved it, and I gave it 5 out of 5 stars, obviously. And yeah, I just didn't expect to love it as much as I did, because I wasn't really in love with Perfect Chemistry, so for me this was definitely better than the first one. And then I read Sentinel, which is the 5th and final book in the Covenant series by Jennifer L. Armentrout, and I gave this one 4 out of 5 stars as well, just like I gave all of the other books except the second one, because I gave that 5 out of 5 stars. But yeah, it was a good ending to a good series, even though I still have my issues with it, mainly that it's basically a carbon copy of Vampire Academy, and I just can't really tolerate that, because it's so alike, and I just can't. But yeah, I finished it. I wanted to finish it, but it wasn't my favorite series because of that fact. Then I read Love Rosie by Cecilia Ahern, and this was such a cute book, although it was kind of frustrating at the end. This is, I don't know how I would categorize this, because in this book our main characters, Rosie and Alex, start out as 7-year-old kids, and at the end they are 50 years old, so I don't know if it's young adult or just fiction. But the very special thing about this book is that everything is written in either letter form or emails, or you know, chats and stuff like that, so you don't really get a narrative, which is so weird, because I don't know, you don't get dialogue basically just in the chat rooms, and you don't see the things, you hear them while they talk about it. So in a way it was very unique, but on the other hand it was kind of frustrating, because I wanted to see those scenes, but I couldn't help but root for these characters, because the story is basically about Rosie and Alex, and you know, just the ways how they managed to not get together for years because of some, you know, little reasons, or just, you know, wrong place at the wrong time kind of things. And it's very, very frustrating, because you just want them to be together already, but it's not that easy, and it takes them like 40 years. But the main reason I read this book was because I know that there's a movie coming out of based on this book. I give this book 4.5 stars out of 5 stars. I can't even speak English anymore, but yeah, it was a very cute story, and I even shed some tears at one scene. So, oh, and it was like 450 pages, but I read it in one day because I needed to know how the story will turn out at the end. And then I finally managed to read an adult paranormal book, and it was Bitten and Smitten by Michelle Rowan, which is the first book in the Immortality Bites series. And I already read this book a few years ago, so this was a reread for me, but it was just so much fun for the second time as well. It's very funny, very light-hearted. It's not very adult at all. It doesn't have any sex scenes or very graphic scenes, but it's just a ton of fun, and with a very, very, very cute romance that I ship so much, and I can't wait to read all the other books in this series. But basically this is a story about a young woman who on a blind date gets turned into a vampire, which for her really sucks because it kind of changes her whole life. This book doesn't really take itself very seriously, but it's so good, so very good, and I recommend it to all of you if you want to read something about vampires and just a really shippable romance. And I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars. The next 2 books I read were graphic novels, and they were The Vampire Academy and the Frostbite graphic novels by Rusha Mead, adapted by Leigh Dragoon and illustrated by Emma Vicelli, I guess, I don't know. But yeah, these books were just really fun, really quick, really quick reads, and you know, I just wanted to have them because I'm a huge fan of Vampire Academy, and even though I didn't really like the style of the art in these books, I did really enjoy the graphic novels in general. And my main issue is that the girls are drawn so weirdly. I mean, they are not attractive at all. I mean, I don't know, they have just long faces, small eyes. It's just not very attractive. But the guys on the other hand look cool at least, so yay for that. And I cannot wait to get my hands on the third graphic novel based on Shadow Kiss, because that book is my baby. But anyways, I gave both of these 4 stars because I can't really even give graphic novels 5 stars because, you know, it's not the whole story and I need the whole story. Then I read the second volume of Saga, and it was the same thing as the first one, at least my opinion is the same. So they were good, not the best, but I definitely want to check out the third book as well. So this one got 4 stars from me as well. And the last book I managed to read in May was Article 5 by Kristen Simmons, and this is a young adult dystopian book in which there's this new militia, I guess, or just government, and they have all these rules, and because of one of these rules, our main character called Amber gets taken away from her home, and also her mother gets taken away from her, and the rule that they have broken is that she was born out of marriage, so her parents weren't married when her mother gave birth to her. And that's like the Article 5 in the rules or the statutes or something like that. And if it wasn't enough that she gets taken away from her home, one of the soldiers is the guy who she has been in love with, but then he gets drafted to join this military kind of thing. But anyway, she gets taken to this reform school for girls basically, and it's such a creepy place. I mean, those scenes in the book where which were taken at that reform school was just so creepy, and you know, just it wasn't creepy, but I felt like I was in that same place, so I was scared out of my mind for her. But I don't want to give anything away about how this story will continue after this reform school or kind of thing. So I will just say that it was very fast-paced. It was very centered around the relationship between Amber and the guy, the soldier who was her love, called Chase. So it's very centered on the romance and not really on the whole politics and just this new government and the dystopian aspect of the story, which for me wasn't an issue because I'm not one of those people who really don't like the romance in a dystopian book. I kind of need my romance in any kind of book, so that was actually good for me. But which wasn't good is the fact that at times it was kind of confusing what was happening, and also at times things worked out a little bit more convenient than it was realistic, but it was still very enjoyable, and I want to read the second book now. But I gave this one 4 stars or maybe 4.5 stars. So there you have it, guys. Those were all the 17 books that I read in May, and I'm really happy with these books because even though most of them were like 4 stars read, which are the books that I liked but didn't love, I didn't read anything bad this month, so that's always a good thing. Anyways, let me know what you have read in May and which one was your favorite book, or if you have read any of these books and what have you thought about them. Just let me know about anything, and thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye bye.